All right, welcome everyone. Chris Petrie here. Thanks again for coming by, joining along in the fun here. We're doing pen and wash. Yes, we're doing a little bit something different, but it's still basically the same thing as we always do, the same fundamentals of watercolor. We're going to be pencil drawing. We're going to be watercolor painting. It's also an Extreme Beginners series video. So if you're just starting out in watercolor, you're at the right place at the right time. Extreme Beginners is my series that I continually update on my YouTube channel and create new videos all the time for those of you that are just starting out. So if it's your first time here ever, welcome. Thanks for coming by. It's great to have you here. I'm excited for you that you're going to take up the challenge of watercolor painting. Yes, sometimes watercolor can be a little challenging, a little difficult, but that's what you learn right from the beginning. That you're not going to be fooled into thinking it's something simple that you're just going to do 1, 2, 3 and it's easy. No, we know it's a little bit challenging, but it's definitely achievable. You can learn to create beautiful paintings over a period of time. I would say between 6 months to a year, you should be up and running and doing really good paintings. Year or 2 or 3, if you're watching on a continuous basis here on my channel, I think you'll be creating really beautiful watercolor paintings. If you want to take it a little more easy and not work as much at it, it might take a little bit longer to get some really good results, but that's up to you, is how much time you want to put in. But if you're just kind of working at it each week with us here on my videos here that we create on YouTube, you should make some really good progress in a short amount of time. It shouldn't take much more than 6 months to a year to really get up and running and doing a really good job. But it does take, again, a little bit of practice. You got to put in some practice time. Watch our videos constantly. I always say video watching is a huge plus. If you can do a lot of video watching on YouTube, my videos, any other videos you want to watch, YouTube videos, I have tons of videos in my archives, so you could really go back and look at hundreds of videos that I have in my archives too as well. I suggest that if you can watch as many videos as you can, it's going to help tremendously. And in any case, we're going to get started here. We're going to do these 2 paintings, pen and wash. We're going to do a preliminary sketch first with our pencil. So we have a light pencil drawing we do first with our pencil. Then after that, we do a pen drawing over the top of our light pencil sketch we created, either with our permanent markers or our non-permanent markers. Non-permanent markers, you get effects like this where you can get lots of rich, beautiful darks. If you have that style of painting that you're creating and where you need a lot of darks, you're using non-permanent markers or a combination thereof with the permanent markers. And then if you want a lighter touch here, like we have here with the flowers, the vase of flowers, the still life, you can just use your pencil drawing first and then your Sharpie permanent marker, fine point marker, and you can get those really light looking, lively, fresh looking pen and wash paintings that you're looking for. So we're going to cover both of these kind of style paintings, pen and wash. Stick here. You're going to have a great time, a lot of fun. I'll cover all the details you need as we go, okay? And we have our Extreme Beginners palette. Again, it's an Extreme Beginners video. We're using the Prang Oval 16 palette with all the colors that you're used to if you're working a lot with my videos on the Extreme Beginners series. So you'll have your typical palette. We're going to have the palette of colors that we always use, and that's how we're going to derive our washes from this palette. And we're using our Extreme Beginners brushes, which are synthetic. And, you know, we have all of the Extreme Beginners brushes you might need. And we have all my art supplies in this, you know, in the description box below. If you click more or you go into the description box below, you'll see links to all of the art supplies that we use on an ongoing basis here. So you're not kind of at a loss to what we're using for our art supplies. I always share my art supplies that I use personally because I've tried them, I've used them, I know they work well, they're going to perform good for you. So all these things and more we're going to have on this video, so let's get started. All right, so we're going to get started here. You saw the finished pen drawings and wash. We can call these pen and wash. That's usually what you'll see them, usually ink and wash or pen and wash paintings. So I want to thank Kate L. Kate is one of our artists here on YouTube. She's a friend of mine. I've been corresponding with Kate for years now, and she sent me a whole box full of great art supplies, papers, pens, paints, watercolor papers, all kinds of interesting things. This she sent me, so thank you, Kate. This is some new paper I have. I've never tried this before. Artist watercolor paper. It's by Bao Hong, and fine grain paper, and it's really nice, pure cotton paper, watercolor paper. So this I think is really a top quality cotton, very high quality cotton watercolor paper. So we're going to use that here for our compositions. So we're going to put that here. have this all set. And then she also sent 4 of these Speedball pens, and it looks like they're varying sizes: 2.0 millimeter, 2.5 millimeter, and 3.0 millimeter. So we should be able to get some really beautiful different thickness of lines for our drawings. So we're going to try this out for the first time here. So I'll just kind of open this up as we go, and we'll see how this works. Maybe I'll open up this side over here, and we'll just open up the packaging like this. And I might have to get a pen knife or something. Let me see what I have here in the studio. We always have interesting things here. And so I have just a Swiss Army knife. Just try to zip a little starter there, a starter opening there in the back, and then Speedball is nice enough. They give us the sizes again in a small cut sheet there. And then we have the pens here, so these will be fun to work with. Obviously, we're going to have a great time working on this video. And again, you saw the finished compositions, so you'll see how we're going to go now step by step through the whole video, creating each of the 3 paintings. And it's an Extreme Beginners series too, so we're doing kind of an Extreme Beginners version of your compositions you're going to work with when you are working as a new artist. You know, you're going to want to try some different things right out from the start. You'll want to grab some different art supplies and things like this and start to kind of get familiar with different, like doing some ink and washes, using some pens. Maybe you'll pick up I often use, you'll probably see me on some of my older videos, and even so just recently I've done some ink and washes, but we'll use ink with like these bamboo ink pens. So you take these type of bamboo ink pens and you dip them into some black ink, Speedball ink actually I use. So Speedball, I recommend Speedball as far as high quality. Speedball products are fantastic. I don't get paid to say that. I'm just saying I use Speedball ink all the time. It's a beautiful ink. It performs beautifully. Once you put it on and it dries on your paper, it doesn't reactivate, so you can paint over it and it doesn't kind of get that reactivation of ink, and it causes, you know, that can cause problems if you're doing some ink drawings. So, but yeah, Speedball is a fantastic high quality art supplier. And then we have again these 4 pens here. And these pens are very conveniently, they have the sizes right on the sides of the pens. So we have 2 2.0 millimeters. So they give us 2 of the smallest. And then the other larger ones, we have 3.0 millimeter and 2.5 millimeter size pens. And these are permanent ink. So once they dry, we can paint over them. So we shall begin. We're going to do this first. I'll put my pens over here on the left side over here. I will tape down my, so I usually use drafting tape. I try to always tape things down so they're secure. So we would, you know, we don't want, really, we're always trying to make our lives easier. So you'd want to tape down your paper whenever you're working with watercolor, pen, and, you know, doing pen drawings, ink and wash, pen and wash. You're going to want to usually secure down your paper so that it doesn't move around, because that can be a problem if you're starting to draw and then all of a sudden your paper moves. That can throw off a line or something that you're trying to create accurately. So that's the main point of it. And what we'll do is we'll also we'll tape around the paper here. I'll just put a small bit of border around this paper like that. So maybe half of this tape. This is like a 1/2 inch tape. And then I'll just do 1/4 of an inch, which is half of this tape, just so we have a border around our composition. I think that looks good. If you can have a border, it usually does tend to make everything look crisp and finished looking once we're done with our composition. So that's always good to have that. So we'll do that. We'll put another bit of half of this tape here. And I wrap things around on this here. All right, so we're getting there. We have our paper taped down, and then we did our border around our paper, our watercolor paper. And then the next thing we will do is maybe we'll just pencil in the border around this, just so we can kind of see the border a little clearer on camera here. So I'll just take my pencil and make a border so you can kind of see that pretty clearly. And then we're going to replicate this composition. So we'll do a light pencil line first just to get things in the right places. With this drawing, we're going to transfer this right over to here. And you can kind of see it's about the same size. So we should have a pretty easy time transferring this pencil drawing, just doing some sketching, and we'll do our pen drawing over the top of the pencil sketch. But you'll notice that if you work with something of similar size, so whatever size your paper is, if you can work from something that's the same, pretty much the same size, you could almost just, you could even measure everything really, to be honest with you. You could just come over here and say, all right, well, how tall is this first floor of this house? And you could measure it and say, well, it's the first floor is 1 inch. So we can come over here and just use our ruler and say 1 inch for the first floor of the house. So you can almost transfer all of your measurements from right here to right here, and you'll get everything pretty much very, very accurate. So that's one benefit of painting, drawing and painting from things that are of the same size. So like I printed this on my printer from an internet photograph. So I took an internet photograph on my laptop computer, printed it on a printer, and then printed it out in a 4x6 size. So now this paper is approximately 4x6 as well. And if you can imagine, that really works out good, because then I'm kind of working with the same type of dimensions that I can just take from here and come right to here and just transfer those measurements, and I can actually get the, you know, we could say, all right, well, how wide is the house? And then we look over here and say, okay, this house is about 3 inches wide. So we can come over here and just say, all right, well, 3 inches wide is over this way. How much space is between here? We could say 1 inch. So we can start to just say, all right, 1 inch is the space between the edges of this painting to the house, the start of the house, 1 inch. And then we said the width of this house completely, the whole entire front of this house, the front facade of this house is 3 inches wide. We can come over here and just say, okay, 3 inches. And we could put a hash mark there and say 3 inches. So that's the whole width of the house. And then there's this other, looks like maybe a garage or another house next to this one. And we could get that next. But let's, we've kind of done quite a bit of work right now. We've worked about 10 minutes or so. I'm going to take a quick break just so I can kind of game plan my next plan of action. But right now, basically, we have the idea of, and you're the artist, you're going to kind of really key in on this idea of, it's really to your benefit if you can, whatever size you're working with your paper, if you can use your subject matter with the same size. So, you know, if you have a printer that can print out like an 8x10, or, you know, like a 9.5 by 11 or 8 by 11 size printout, then you would use a 8 by 11 watercolor paper. And then if you print out an 8 by 11 picture from the internet, if you want to copy something from the internet or wherever you're going to get your subject matter from, or if you're going to take a picture of something and then you blow it up or shrink it down. But if you make the size of your reference photo the same size as your watercolor paper, you're going to be like really you'll have a great advantage in a sense, because then if you do want to start to scale things, you don't have to adjust anything. You can just really go like for like. So, okay, again, we said 3 inches here, well, 3 inches over here. How high is this house? Well, this house is, the first floor is starting here at the deck. That's right here, the deck that's by the front of the house here. That's 2 1/4 inches high. So we could say, well, 2 1/4 inches high is the, and well, how much space between the top of the picture down to that peak of that gable roof here? Well, that's 1/4 inch. So I can go 1/4 inch, make a little hash mark there and say, okay, that's where my peak of my roof is going to be. And you could even say, well, how far over is my peak of the roof over here from the left edge over here? And we say, okay, wow, that's pretty simple. 2 1/2 inches. 2 1/2 inches gives me the peak of the roof, the ridge line of the roof. 2 1/2 we said, right there. And then we make a little hash mark there. So now we know that's the ridge of the roof right there. Just like that. And then we notice too, well, wow, what kind of pitch does this roof have? Well, we could start out right away, something simple we can use. We have one of these Post-its. We could take a Post-it like this and say, maybe it's has a 90-degree angle on the roof. And we would say, wow, yeah, it does. That's almost the same as this Post-it. You can kind of see that, right? It's almost the same pitch, 90 degrees. Like this. So we can take our Post-it right over here and put it on here. And we can just say, yeah, that's about the same. So we might be a little bit, but pretty close, like that. And then you say, all right, now we have our pitch of our roof. We might have to adjust this a little bit. Maybe I need to erase a little bit. You can do a little bit of erasing, that's fine. Like that. But you get the kind of the idea. You can get the pitch of your roof, just that simple. Like that. All right, so let's leave it right here. We're kind of seeing how we can do things with our layout for our paintings and our drawings. This happens to be pen drawings, pen and ink. We're doing pen and ink, so we're going to be using our pens once we get our pencil sketch in. Just rough idea of the size and the overall composition here with some pencil it in. If you have to, when you're penciling in your subject matter, yeah, you can erase some things here and there and kind of be lighter on the sketch. I'm doing a little darker sketch here so you can see it on the camera. But if I was at home and I was by myself, let's say for you at home, you're working on this, you don't need to go with a dark sketch for your pencil drawing for this to start with. You want to go really, really super light, barely visible, just so you can see it, just so you're getting your lines in correctly, so you can kind of say to yourself, all right, now I've got a super light pencil sketch in. Now you can go over with your pens and do your pen drawing on top of your light pencil lines, just so you kind of have a basic idea of everything where it's kind of laid out. And like we don't want to start our house and the next thing you know, our house is like off the picture, or we didn't leave enough room down here. And that goes back to the same idea of if we're working with like for like, this is a 4x6 printout. This is a little bit larger, I think. This is, yeah, 4 by, I think, 7. 6. Oh, it's a 4 by 6 too. Yeah, it's 4 by 6. This is a 4 by 5. So this is approximately 4 by 5. This is 4 by 6. So this is a little wider. But in any case, if you have like for like, same size photograph as your paper, no matter what size that is, you can go to a print shop and print out a huge, 24 by 36 poster size of something you want to paint, and then have a 24 by or 22 by 30 watercolor paper and basically do the same idea. Measure everything as you go and transfer it onto your paper. So you can work in any size you want when you're doing your watercolor paintings, your ink and wash, your pen and wash, whatever it is you're working with, oil paints, acrylics, whatever it is, whatever you're doing. Always remember, the draftsman, when you're drafting something and you're creating something in the beginning, putting all of the lines onto your paper to create something first, your bones of your painting, let's call it the bones. So the bones would be your pencil sketching, and then your flesh is your paints and all of that. So if we're talking kind of like, just to get a concept or a visualization of what we're doing, right now we're creating the bones of the painting, the pencil lines, and then eventually we're going to start to do the pen drawing. That's kind of like still the bones. And then once we're done with that, we do some washes, and that's kind of like the flesh, the color, the kind of the real substance of what we're doing. So always remember, but if you are working like for like, same size, makes your life 100% easier if you're doing it this way. Because you can just transfer the same exact measurements right over to your paper. I hope that's real clear. I just want to make sure everyone kind of understands that, because that'll really help you in the long run if you do want to get some really accurate drawings when you're working in your on your compositions and your paintings. And it's a lot more fun when you get a really good accurate pen drawing or pencil drawing onto your paper before you start putting on some paint. You'll feel a lot better about doing your painting, because you're going to feel like already you're starting with a really good, solid sketch or drawing. Okay? All right, let's come back in just a second. We'll finish up our light pencil sketch, and then we'll start right away with our pen drawing over the top. All right? So I'll be right back. All right, we are having fun, aren't we? So let's just continue with the same idea. Okay, I'm just going to use my ruler now. I'm going to start just taking measurements here. All right, what do we have here? 2 inches from the peak of the roof, the ridge of the roof, down to the edge of the eaves of the roof here. Okay, so there we go. We have that. What do we have over here? Let's see what we have here. Anything different? No, 2 inches, same thing. 2 inches right there. 2 inches. I make a hash mark like that. Eave of the roof there. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is, where is this shed roof here that's covering over where the front door is on this painting? That is 3/4 of an inch down from the ridge. So 3/4 of an inch down from the ridge. That is going to be our light pencil line, like that, for our shed roof there. Okay, now the shed roof, how tall are those posts on the shed roof? They are 1.25 inches. So we go from, we say 1.25 inches down. That's the post sizes. And we can even use our ruler to do some posts here. Why not? We have the ruler, let's use it. Same thing here. Now we don't need to measure this one, because we have pretty much this one here. We have that, so we just use this, transfer over a nice level line. We just don't want to go off on an angle like this. We want to make sure we're pretty much straight like this. You can just take your ruler, give it a good eye, and say, okay, that looks about pretty level. It's not, out of level like this or like this. It's pretty much straight. You get that there, straight, pretty much for the most part. And we go across, and that's the actual, the deck in front of the house, where the front porch is. Now, what else do we have? We have a window and a door. I don't think we have to really sweat that too much. It's pretty much almost on the center here. I would say this door, actually, if we transfer up this line of the door, the right side of the door is plumb or vertical, exact vertical to the ridge line. So the door is off center. So if we take a plumb line and we come down and say, okay, that's a plumb line, perfectly vertical line down from the ridge of the roof, that is where the door starts, and it goes to the left. How wide is that door? And of course you can use the metric system if you're using millimeters and centimeters or whatever. If you're working with the standard size, you'll just use your standard measurements. This door is approximately 1/2 inch wide. So I come here and say, okay, 1/2 inch wide. How much is it below the 1/4 inch, approximately below the roof? So if I say 1/4 inch, about there, like this. And you can use your ruler again to just plumb down some lines like that. Okay, so now we have our door. And then we have our post over here, and then we have another window over here. So let's do that window. And it's pretty much level. It's level with the door. That window over here on the right side is level with the door as far as the height of it. It's the same height, level across. So we'll come over and just make a hash mark and say, okay, that's the window over here. And there you can kind of give it maybe an, you know, you can just look at it and say, okay, it's not as wide as the door. Maybe it's half the width of the door. But at this point now you have enough information on your sketch that you can sort of, once you start putting a lot of lines onto your paper with your sketching, then there comes a point where you can sort of use your eye to get the rest of your information. So what I'm saying is, I can see this door is, we called this door about, I think it was a ½ an inch wide. That door is a ½ inch wide approximately. So now when we look at this window, we see it's quite a bit thinner than the door. It's not as wide. So then when I do my drawing, I just say, okay, well, I'm just going to, since I have a lot of information already here, I can kind of see this is the edge of the house over here, like that. So there's a, you know, a decent amount of space between the edge of the window to the corner here of the house. So that's when you start to, you have enough information on your sketch and your drawing completed that you start to be able to just sort of, you know, do things by feel as you go. So we have our we have our deck over here, and there's a staircase over here. Maybe not necessary that we fill in every detail as we work with this, but then we're just going to come over here and put in some of that. We're going to do some of the ground area like this, come down here like that. Then what we noticed is over here, the house extends this way, and then it comes down this way. And there's a lot of darks underneath the house here. So what we'll do is we'll kind of, there's some posts underneath the deck here, the porch. So there's some posts under the porch. We have a lot of bright lights and things and shadows, so we're going to do that with our pens. And then over here we'll see that this house next to this house here is pretty much kind of level like this. And then how high is this roof? We'll take a look with our ruler and say, okay, this is about 3/4 of an inch high. Maybe not quite 3/4, maybe 5/8. So we'll say that's 5/8 high. I make a hash mark there, like this, and we come down like that. That's the other roof over here, like this. Now I'm going to start to use a little more. I'm not going to get too fancy with things. I'm going to kind of just start to enjoy the process over here. And there's a door over here, and there's some, these are wood planking for the facade of these houses, wood planking. This might be a metal roof over here on this house. There, a metal roof, it looks like. And there's a decent shadow there, like this. If this is in shadow, you can always just do a little bit of pencil to just keep a note for yourself on your paper that these are going to be the darks. And there's a shadow under here. There might be a line across here where we see the trim on the shed roof there. And there's another bit of rooftop there. And then there's a lot of boards here. So we're going to be creating those boards on the siding for this beautiful house here. So we'll just do the boards, kind of lightly sketch those in with our pencil. And there's trims on the outside of the house. There's trims on the gable side of these roofs here. So there's lots of details to this, but we don't want to go overboard with detail, but we do want to capture some of the details. And then here, like, we have the tree. Let's put the tree in. So the tree goes up straight. Here, I'm going to use it in more of a shadowing. And this way we can just get the tree in like this and just a couple indications there. And then the same over here, we have some trunk. We have a trunk, a tree trunk here. Like this, just an indication. And there's like a figure over here. Let's do a figure too. So we'll just take our figure and we'll just transpose the same thing we're looking at here. We have the legs, then we have the body. The shirt is a white shirt. We have a darker head here with some ears. And we have arm. We have an arm over here with a cane maybe. Like this, and then like that. So we just do a quick figure over here on the left. And that's pretty much it. We also have a chimney. Let's do our chimney over here. Like that. And I think this is fine. We have some good details here that we can start our pen drawing. And we have pretty much all that we need. And I think you'll be surprised how good this is going to look when we start to put in our pen over the top of our pencil drawing. But the key is, I think it's easier to do a light pencil sketch first. If you're doing a pen drawing, it's easier to do a light sketch first with your pencil. This way, if you do have to make some adjustments, it's easy enough to just take an eraser and readjust your drawing as you go to make sure everything is just right the way you want it compared to your subject matter that you're working from. And then you go over with your ink on top of this. You'll never see the pencil lines once you go over the top with your ink. So your pens. So let's do that. Let's start our pens next, and we'll just work right from this the same way we did with our pencil drawing, except now it's more fun. When we do our pen drawing, we're not measuring anymore, anything like that. We're having more of a good time using our pens, and we're just basically blocking in all of the darks and all of the, basically we're just going to really be blocking in all of the darks with our pens, and then we'll leave the lights for the paper. So some of these, a lot of these areas are going to be just white paper, and then as well we're going to do some watercolor washes on top of this too. So you'll see how we're going to block in some washes with this to have a fun time working with the Prang Oval 16 set and our colors with this. We're going to wash in some colors over the top of our pen drawing once we're done with our pen drawing. So we'll keep everything going here. We're at a good pace, and we also have 2 more to go. So this is going to be a long video. You know, get excited. We have lots to work on this video. We're going to also be working with these other 2 drawings. This is going to be a flower drawing with a vase and flower and a couple little items here, still life, flower, still life. And then we're also going to do some figures. The last composition we'll do are some figures, a little more loose feel figures with our, again, we're all working with the pen here. So we're doing pen and wash. So let's keep going. I'll just take another quick break. I'll get myself prepared to we'll start getting our pen drawing on top of this completed. All right, we are further along the process here. I hope everyone's having a good time. Have fun with your watercolors, your pen and wash drawings. So again, thanks to Kate L. Thank you, Kate. We have our wonderful pens here. So we have the 2.5, the 2.0, and the 3.0. And then we have an extra 2.0. So we'll take our extra 2.0. We'll set that to the side. So now we have our 2.0, 3.0, and our 2.5. So let's take a look here and see what we have. These are nice. These are chisel point pens. you can kind of see they have like a really nice chiseled point to them, which means we can get a lot of coverage with them when we're putting them onto our paper. I would note that it's probably best if you use really smooth, the smoothest watercolor paper you can find. I know Arches makes great smooth, silky paper. They make the Arches satin paper, which has the pink cover. So if you can imagine, we have like usually the Arches paper. When we use Arches paper, we use either the orange cover, which is the rough paper, and that has that really rough texture to it, which you get those beautiful, for landscapes and seascapes and things like that, you get that beautiful broken edges of your washes and things where you can add sparkles to your painting with the paper. It has that nice rough texture. You can kind of make some really great effects with it. And then you have the Arches satin paper, which has the pink cover. So the Arches orange cover, that is the rough paper. And then when you use the Arches pink cover for the, those are the watercolor blocks, which are the watercolor paper that's all glued together, and you just like trim off one piece at a time once you're finished with your painting. Those really work out great. I've used those all the time, actually. So those are really great watercolor papers, but there's lots of other good papers out there too. I use inexpensive papers myself to save on a little bit of money when I'm doing practice work, or sometimes, you know, I like to have, I save my really expensive paper for, like, a lot of times I use it for my videos here, as well as if I'm doing like paintings for gallery work, for like sending to galleries or shows, competitions, anything like that. I'll use the best paper I can afford at the time. So in any case, a smoother paper is going to work out better, because a rough paper is going to actually sort of, I would say it kind of damages the pens a little bit. The tips of the pens might get a little damage from a rougher paper, because it's like almost like sandpaper. So when you go to use your pens, like I notice my Sharpie markers, when I use Sharpie markers a lot of times on watercolor paper, it does like roughen up the points on the Sharpie markers, and it kind of, you know, after a while they get really roughed up, and then they just aren't as good, as sharp as they can be. So there's just a little cautionary note there. So let's go with the widest one first. We'll kind of try to block in our heaviest bit, and this is the 3.0. So let's use the 3.0. You can kind of see the thickness of the chisel point, and the chisel point comes to a point like that. So I'll just start maybe right at the top and just come right down like this. I'll start out with the where we started with our drawing. I'm going to start at the same place. Now we notice here in the drawing, in this actual printout of our composition, we did a printout of our subject matter here, our subject matter that we're actually copying from. It's a little bit of light. The light looks like it's coming from the right a little bit, from this way over. You can always put a little insignia too of a light, maybe a spotlight kind of thing like that. I like to do that all the time, you'll notice. So this way we kind of know, all right, the light's coming from that way. There's a bit of a shadow under here. Like that. So we're just doing the darkest darks right now. We're not really too worried about the medium tones or anything like that. Just the darkest darks. Let's get those darkest darks in. Okay, and this too, we notice there's a dark over here. So I'm going to take my pen and get that in there. And there's also there too as well. And then as we come over here, I notice it's pretty dark under here, under the shed roof over the top of the porch. There's a little bit of a dark there. Looks like a dark shadow there. Dark shadow there on the posts. So the posts have a little bit of a dark shadow there. And we have some more darks over here. So I'm just looking here. I keep referencing back to this. And I notice that we'll fill in some of these darks with paint. So you just want to get the darkest darks you can see. That's what you're going to create your pen drawing with. That's like your main objective here. And we notice that the tree is all those really super dark darks. So that tree, we know we're going to do that in dark darks. And there's more trim here that's on this roof here, over here. So we know we're going to do some dark there. And, oh yeah, this here too, the doorway, the doors here. Okay, so we're going to, looks like, I might leave out the railings here. I don't know. Since I went over this right here, I might leave out the railings, but we could also use some white to fill back in here where we went over the railing areas. So that can also be something you're aware of, that okay, there you see, we're doing the window over here. There's some bright light on the right side of the window, so we're going to leave that in there, just like that. So basically, we're just, again, copying what we see here in the... doesn't have to be perfect either, don't worry about it. Just get in your darks to start with, and then we'll put in some washes to finish up the painting. So I'm going to get these darks in here too. And this is the fun. But again, please, this is a little bit of a rougher paper. I thought it might have been a little more smoother. Not that, but this is a great paper. I can't wait to see what the watercolor looks like on top of this paper right now. But for pen drawing, yeah, try to use the smoothest paper you can. That's all. That's just the only takeaway we have here with this process is, you know, try to use a silky, smooth paper when you're using pens or Sharpie markers, whatever you use for your pens. Sharpie markers work great too. I use Sharpies sometimes to do pen and wash for compositions and things like that, and pen and ink and pen and wash paintings. So you get good results with the Sharpie markers too. But these are really nice. These are, again, by Speedball. These are beautiful pens right away. I can tell you that these are handling beautifully. And they are really fun to work with right away. I can tell you that these are really putting on some beautiful darks here and pretty effortlessly. Okay, so now here we have the same thing. And we have the roof over here. And I can see that these are metal roofs where you can see those seams. Usually metal roofs, if you see metal roofs out when you're out traveling around and you see different roofs, metal roofs are they're actually really beautiful, and they last a long time. And they're also, you can kind of always see they have these little seams that stick up and they catch the light. So usually you'll always see those little small seams that stand above the roof surface, and that kind of tells you that it's a standing seam roof. Okay, and we're doing the trunk of the tree here. We're going to make that like so. And that kind of blends right in with the shadows here too. This is the underside of the roof on the right-hand side of the roof. So that's the shadow on the underside of this roof over here on this side of the gable of the roof, the gable end of the roof. And then here we have, and then we just noticed too, it's pretty dark over here. So we can just keep going with our darks. I'll try to go vertically. So I'm just going to use my pen in a vertical fashion because that's sort of kind of more simple to get the like that. There's the door over here. Again, very dark. The door is mostly dark, but it does have some medium tonal value in there, some medium tones. So we'll leave it. We'll put in some color there, some Prang Oval 16 watercolor colors in there. And then we'll do some siding here. Some clapboard siding right across here. And you can go fast too. A lot of times if you work quicker with some of the details, it looks better actually if we just go a little quicker. and we don't fuss around too much. I wouldn't take a ruler unless you feel like you need to use a ruler. That's okay too. So if you're just starting out with drawing and you haven't been drawing a long time, maybe it's better you use a ruler. And you'll notice that these clapboard wood siding is on a little bit of an angle, like this. You can see that in the photograph too. It's on an angle, so it's not level. So up here it's more or less level. Our planks of siding on the facades of this house are pretty much level, straight, level, like that. But then as you come over here, you'll notice that these over here are, and that's just perspective. You'll see angles change as you're drawing and things, and noticing when you're drawing your subject matter, sometimes you'll notice that things will change as far as angles go and things like that. So you just have an awareness of it, that you know not everything is always going to be the same. So even though these might be straight, these planks on the front of the house might be straight here, level, as I would call it, more or less level, they might not be level over here on the side, which you can kind of see they are on an angle like this. So that's all just, you know, so we'll just put some of these with the marker. I will make sure that these posts, I don't want to go over those posts. You can imagine we don't want to draw over those posts. So I will just do that. And then over here on this side, we'll try to line these lines up. That's important too. We wouldn't want to draw lines over here and then the other lines on the left side of this post. So this is the post that's holding up the roof here on the porch. We wouldn't want to make these lines over here to the left. We want to keep them on the same level. So again, a ruler can help on that point. So you can use a ruler to get those lines. You can even draw it in with pencil first if you want. Somewhat, you know, somewhat the same. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it will look like an error if you miss that detail. Okay, and here we go. We'll do the other tree over here. We have, and these we can go quicker. The trees are fun, the branches and things. We can just have fun with that and not get too worried about accuracy. I may have added a few more details to this than what's in this, but that's okay. You can do that. We'll make our figure over here. We have the pants there. We have an arm over here, a cane, head. We have the head here. And then we'll paint around the rest of the body. We have an arm over here too. A little bit of directional lines just leading up to the house here. A couple little bits of marker pen wash. And now you can see we have a really good pen drawing in place. And then I'll just finish up here with the and just we'll finish up that there, the tree, the limbs and branches. And I put a chimney on top of here. I think there's a chimney over here. So I put that on top of that, and that looks pretty good. I think we have everything looks pretty good. All right, I'll just fill in that door a little bit more there and the window there. And I think everything is good now. We have our pen drawing completed. Now we'll just do some wash over the top and you'll see how everything will really kind of come together. We really didn't have to use our other pens so much. We were able to complete the whole pen drawing in the 3.0 millimeter pen, permanent marker. And what I'll do now is we'll come back and we'll start putting a little bit of wash on this just to add some color to this. And you'll see how beautiful it looks once we add some color. And we're going to use our Prang Oval 16 set. I'll get our colors prepped. So we'll just do a little spritzing. And this is going to be a marathon of a video. We're just starting here. We just have our first one completed. And you can break this down a little bit. You know, you might want to do like one a day or something like that if you want to. Or maybe you're going to go for the gusto and do all three in one day. It's up to you. Totally up to you. But this is our first. And then we're going to do, again, two more. We're going to do some flowers in a vase. Pen drawing first. And then some wash over top. And then we're going to do some figures too. Our final third composition. So let's get a quick break and then we'll come right back and get some wash on this one. All right, so now we're going to do a little bit of wash over the top of our pen drawing. Let's get started. I just have some simple watercolor brushes here that are our extreme beginners brushes. So we have the this comes with the Prang Oval 16 set. This is a round brush, synthetic hairs. This is a brush that I have been using for years now. It's the number 9. This would be the Simply Simmons number 9 round brush, synthetic hair. A little bit larger round brush, so 2 round brushes. This is smaller. This is a little larger, covers a little more area. The Simply Simmons. And then also, too, we have the number 5 Da Vinci synthetic travel brush. And this one, too, is sort of a, you know, kind of a mid-size brush here, similar to the Prang Oval 16 brush that comes with the Prang Oval 16 set. All right, so we have these 3 brushes. We can pretty much get our washes on with these kind of a more round brush, medium size, nothing too extravagant here. So maybe I'll use my Simply Simmons. I have my, I'll get some fresh, clean water, so I'll empty out my water bucket. I tend to like to change the water bucket a lot. So we'll do that, and we'll just put some fresh water in there. And then now we're just going to think simple washes. We're not, you know, the drawing was, the pencil drawing and the pen drawing was really the star of the show. Right now what we're going to do is just put a little bit of wash on here, just to have an enjoyable bit of color. So I'll put some of this blue in here. This is kind of a cerulean style blue, like that. And then this is more of like a French ultramarine cobalt looking blue. If you're familiar with my normal colors that I use, tube colors, so I tend to call them to what I think they kind of match up to as far as my normal tube paints that I use all the time. And then a little bit of purple. But these are going to be light washes on here. We're not going to go too thick with paint, too heavy. So we'll do some orange and yellow and some brown. A little bit of green too. I'll put some green down here. We'll have a touch of green there too. All right, let's see what we can do now. The fun thing, we'll start from the top and work our way down this way. Of course, we'll start with the sky wash and we'll go with the blue. And then I'll use this again as my guide. So when I'm painting, I notice that the light is coming from this direction, this way. And the chimney is, I want to make sure I leave the white side plane of the chimney there, white. And don't worry if your markers in ink bleed a little bit, that's okay. If they're not permanent, that's fine. They actually look good. If you know, there's been a number of paintings that I've done over the years where I've used ink that's not, doesn't, so sometimes not all inks or markers will be permanent. So these aren't permanent. And that's kind of what's interesting about it. We can just blot up a little bit of paint with our tissue or our paper towel. And it kind of looks interesting when we leave a little bit of, when that black gets activated, it kind of looks good. And you can blot up as you paint, a little bit here and there, if you want to lighten up a few sections and areas. And then what we'll do is we'll take those same colors and we'll just put a little bit in the bottom of the painting. Then we'll take some yellows and brown. And we'll do some yellow and brown for the siding. Like that. And then what I'll do is I'll just match the shadowing just like I see it here. Like that. You'll see. I'm just going to always remember your watercolors, your pen and wash, whatever you're doing, it's artistic. Have fun with it. You know, that's the main goal here. I'll put a little bit of that golden yellow in the sky where the trees are a little bit, just to mix and mingle the colors. I want to make sure I'm kind of mixing all my colors around the painting. And I think that's looking good. So far we are we'll keep those really nice darks underneath the porch. Maybe a little bit of green. Let's add a little bit of green to the mix just to liven it up a little bit, maybe. With some green, summery kind of feel. But as you can see, we have what we wanted to achieve. Some really beautiful colors in our painting. In our pen and wash, we wanted to get some really beautiful color in here. and then also keep that bright lit feel of the pen and wash. The sunlight, we wanted to capture that, and you can kind of see how leaving that white of the paper captures that beautiful sunlight coming across the picture. And I think that's all we needed to do, was really just take our time. I will splash a little bit of green on the trees here, just like this, and that will just melt right into the wash, just like that. And there we have it. So I'm glad you're sticking with us here. I hope you'll subscribe. If you like this video, please subscribe. And we have 2 more pen and wash compositions we're going to do right after this here. So, but this is pretty much finished now. We're happy with the result. We have the beautiful pen drawing on top of our light pencil sketch, and then we added in a little bit of beautiful color to this. And then what we'll do is next we'll change up a little bit. Maybe we will maybe we'll use some Sharpie markers next and see if there's any difference between the Sharpie markers and these really beautiful Speedball pens. I like the way the pen ink melts and kind of reactivates. That looks really good, actually. And then we can, if you can notice here, it's got a blue tint to it, which is really nice. And it activates, and we can get those really beautiful darks like that. So this is, wow, this is a lot of fun. And you can also, too, if you need to, once in a while, you might take a few moments to take some titanium white with a fine point brush. This happens to be the 5 Da Vinci travel brush. You take a little tiny bit of white on the tip of the brush, and you can maybe just get a few lights that you might have painted over. Sometimes we paint over our lights. We don't mean to, but it happens. It's totally normal. And that's where we just have our titanium white. We could put a couple bits of we can put a bit of shadow under here too, under these, like that. A little bit of warm colors here and there. So if you have some blue, lots of blues, you know, might as well add in a little bit of orange or red. Since we have the orange, let's use that. We used that before. And that is it. All right, so we have our porch. I'll just make sure that the shadow is the same here. And again, I left out the railings. I left the railings out. I figure I would just leave I would just leave the posts here. And again, you'll see me blot here and there. Sometimes I'll just blot up a little bit of the paint. And again, these pens that we're using, they're really fantastic because they actually, when you activate them with a little bit of water, they turn out to be a beautiful dark wash. So we can get all those beautiful darks that we wanted to, capture all those beautiful darks in this painting. We did that, and it looks like everything turned out perfect. All right, so let's get geared up for our next pen and wash. We're going to do this flower painting. Pen and wash composition next. So let's, what I'll do is maybe I'll reset everything up and then we'll come back and we'll get started with this, doing our light pencil drawing and then our pen drawing over the top and then a little bit of wash. All right, let's get started. We're going to do our second pen and wash. This will be a vase of flowers and a little bit of still life information, a pencil, a small jar, maybe another container and jar over here and up here, a windowsill. We'll kind of have fun doing this here. So we'll just take this rectangle and we'll trace it out over the entire rectangle here. Then what we use is our pencil to make sure that we get our preliminary sketch in here, our preliminary drawing, just to make sure everything's in the right place. So we can also, again, we talked about it, if you have your drawing, if you've printed out a drawing on your printer at home, so let's say you have a printer at home, or you have maybe a book and you're working from a book and you can trim out, maybe you can trim out the a couple watercolors out of one of your watercolor teaching books. I have a book down below in the description below. You'll see in the description box. I do have my book. That's my watercolor book, Methods for Success. You can always take my book and then use it as like a great working tool. You can take all the pages in the book and trim out all the paintings, and then use it just like this, where you set up your painting. You trim out the pages, cut them out, put them on your table, and you work right from the painting. And then you can actually measure with a ruler if you want to get it pretty much exact, like for like. So again, this printout that I did of a drawing, pencil drawing, pen drawing, is going to fit perfectly on this sheet of paper, this watercolor paper that we're using, because it's essentially the same size. So I can just come right over to this and be like, okay, let's see, now we have everything here. Let's say, where does the vase start? From the bottom up. It's about a ½ an inch from the bottom of the page up to the bottom of the vase. So I'll take a ½ an inch here, and I'll go up and do that. Make a little mark. So that's going to be where the bottom of the vase is. And then maybe I'll do the same thing. How tall is the vase? And I'll just take a look here, and I'll say, okay, that's 1.5 inches. So 1.5 inches up, like this. And I'll make a little hash mark there, and that's the top of the vase. So I can just kind of, now I can start kind of creating the shape of the vase here, like this. And then halfway up from the bottom of the vase is the line of the back of the table. So then I don't really have to do much measuring. I can just say, halfway between the top and the bottom of the vase, that's going to be about the back of the table. And then you can use a ruler to get your back of your table perfectly level if you want to, or you can just draw it by hand like this. Okay, and then we have another jar over here, so we'll just put that jar, again, that's about halfway up on the vase is the jar over here. So we'll put that jar like this. And it's got a handle on it. Okay, so now we have a jar, our vase. The vase has a handle on it like this. And comes down like this and flares out like that. Like this. And then over here we have another container. Like that. Then there's a pencil over here. So now I'm kind of taking a little bit of a liberty just to I kind of see what the drawing is kind of looking like, and I can sort of start to do a little more freehand. I'm not having to measure as much because I can kind of see where everything is now. We have the vase here, then I just look across here, pretty much the same height as the vase as this container here. And then we have the pencil right in front here, which is right there. So pretty much, you know, you use your judgment. If you want to keep measuring things, you can measure and continue to use that that method to continue drawing, but I think at this point now I'm feeling pretty confident that we can get the rest of this done. We'll start doing the shapes of the flowers here. So we'll do, so I'm just going to lightly sketch this. Like this, and then this comes over here like so. So we have a little more flower shapes kind of stretching out this way. And then we have another flower shape up here. Okay, and then we have another flower that way. And then this here, if we go up a little way, that's the windowsill. So that windowsill goes straight across, like so. Another line, a second line, and then there's the sash of the window here. And I think that's good. I might leave out this container here, but that should be fine. All right, so we have our items all set up. There's some shadow over here, shadow there. So the light's coming again from the right side to the left. So we'll put our spotlight insignia here with our light like this. Okay, so the light's coming from this direction. We have shadows over here on both of these containers. And I think that should be good. We have everything kind of set up. Next thing we'll do is go over the top of this with our pen so that we'll have the second part of this process completed. We have the first part, light pencil sketch first, just to kind of lay things out, get them where we want to. And then after that, then we'll do our pen right over the top. So that's what's fun about this too. Once you get your pencil drawing done, and you're satisfied with that, well then you're all set. You're going to go right over the top of your pencil drawing with your pen. This time we'll use a Sharpie marker like this here, and this is permanent, so I don't think it's going to reactivate, which will give us a different look. So now we're going to go with a different look. We're going to go with a look where there's no activation of the ink. The first set of pens we used were the Speedball pens, which are really nice. You can get that really, if you're doing a painting with, let's say, a lot of darks, like we were doing on the first painting, lots of dark shadows and things, that Speedball type of pen is going to work really nicely. As you can see, we got some really good darks, and it helped us get our darks really, really rich and powerful. Now with this here, we're going to do a little more delicate drawing with our pen, with our Sharpie, and this is again a permanent marker, so it's going to be permanent once we put it on, and it won't reactivate, so it'll be less maybe shadowing and things like that. We won't have as many dark shadows when we use this with this the Sharpie. So we'll use this next and see how this performs, and it's all about trying out different art supplies and things like this, and we're having a fun time as we go. I'm hoping you're having a great time here. I'm always hoping to. You'll subscribe on the right-hand side below. Doesn't really do anything but alert you the next time we're creating another video. So we're always making new videos each week, week after week, month after month, and year after year. On my channel here, we're always creating new watercolor videos for you so that you can follow along, practice along, just watch. Maybe sometimes you might be crunched for time and you can't paint, but you'll watch anyway. You'll watch the videos and you'll kind of learn from just watching. You'll hear the same phrases and terms about the art supplies and the different techniques we use. So you'll kind of, the more you're listening and watching the videos, even if you're not maybe painting along every time, that's fine too, because you're really going to learn a lot. And that's the way I learned a lot and got a lot of experience in watercolor by watching a lot of videos on YouTube, as well as purchasing DVDs of my favorite watercolor artists. So let me tell you, absolutely 100%, it's never a waste of time to put on videos and watch videos, DVDs, YouTube videos. Video watching is really important, and a lot of great, I would say right away, I can tell you, like for instance, like professional athletes, whether it's football, baseball, hockey, tennis, you name it, they all watch tons of videos of other opponents they're going to face, other teams they're going to go up against to play, they're always learning. They're going to watch the greatest players on video to see what they're doing, try to replicate that. So it's the same thing with artwork. If you want to learn as much as you can, learn the fine details of artwork, you're watching videos all the time. Especially if you're kind of tired and you don't want to bust out all the art gear and stuff, that's a perfect time you watch some videos, because you're going to, again, learn and watch and kind of really intensely focus on the videos, and you'll learn a lot just from doing that. So I'm hoping you're going to gain a lot from that, watching our videos. And that's why I say if you subscribe, you won't miss a thing. You'll be here, you'll be tied in with us, and we're all working together anyway for the same goal. Let's get better at our watercolors, enjoy the journey of watercolor. So we'll be right back, and we'll start our pen drawing. That'll go quickly, and then we'll get some wash on here, and we'll wrap it up after that, but we're going to have a fun time doing this. All right, so we're getting back here. We're going to do our contour drawing, and I just wanted to mention, maybe I don't always do this enough. I should do this a little bit more, but maybe just kind of revisit some things. But this is what we're going to do now, is basically what's called a contour drawing. So basically, a contour drawing is you start in one location, usually in the center of your pencil sketch, which is your preliminary sketch, with your pen or with your pencil. So your preliminary sketch, that's the first thing we did. So this is the second thing we did here, or we're going to do now. The first thing is your preliminary. Preliminary sketch. So our preliminary sketch is the first light pencil drawing that we do, and you can go lighter than what I did here. I wanted to make sure I made it dark enough so you can see it on the video. But that's your preliminary sketch. Then your contour drawing is basically when you go over the top of this with a darker pencil line, or since we're doing pen and wash, we're going over with our Sharpie pen. So that's going to be our contour drawing with either a pencil. A second time going over, if you like to see some really nice pencil lines in your paintings, your watercolor paintings, you're going to go over with your second pencil line, which is your contour drawing. And you're using either your pencil, or you can also use, like we're doing here, our pen. So either pencil or pen for your contour drawing. And our contour drawing is basically like we're taking a trip through the painting, where we start in maybe a central portion of our painting and we work outwards. And just so we can kind of keep the flow going, and also if we need to adjust and make something a little different as we're going, we can do that. So let's do that. Let's start here. And I'm just going to start by going around, and I'm looking at this constantly, referring back and forth, but I do have this pencil line, this light pencil line, which I can use. And sometimes too, if you step back and look at your pencil, your preliminary sketch, and it looks right on the money, then you can just go right in and do this, and you really just don't have to worry too much about referencing this back and forth, because you already know you've checked everything out and everything looks fine, so you're satisfied with that light pencil sketch, and then now you can just go over it with your pen. I mean, it doesn't hurt to reference it occasionally if you think you might have something that you need to reference, and I'll just go across here with my pen, and then back this way, and then back this way again. And then again, I'm keeping in the center of things here. Okay, and then we just continue right on down here. We'll do the handle of the vase. So this vase is actually like a jug, and the jug will come right around here and go right over to there. And maybe on second thought, we might not have had to draw here where the shadow is. Maybe the shadow is better left without the pen. But either way, you can practice it both ways and see what you like. And then we'll do our pencil here. And we'll continue on. We're doing the back edge of the table now, right across. And again, the nice part is we already have our light pencil drawing, our preliminary sketch as we call it, completed. So now you're just having a fun time. You're just tracing over your pencil lines with your your magic marker, your Sharpie marker, or if you're using the speedball pens too, you can use those. With this painting, this pen and wash, I think we're going to be satisfied if we use the Sharpie. It won't reactivate again because this is more of a lighter touch, this painting. So I don't think we're going to maybe need to make any really dark shadows. So I think we'll be okay if we just leave it as is. And then I think that's good. All right, so what I'll do is we've got the preliminary drawing done now, preliminary sketch completed, and now we have the pen drawing done over the top of our preliminary sketch, pencil sketch. And I think that is fine. And then over here, I think we have some of these just like this. Okay. And we have a little bit there. I think that's good. All right, that looks good. So we're having a good time here. We're having fun. This is it. We're gonna finish up with this. We're gonna do our washes right now over the top of this, and then we're complete. We'll have the video completed. You'll have 2 of these under your belt, 2 pen and wash watercolors. And some of you might run with this and really enjoy this a lot and do a lot more of these. They're a lot of fun. And I used to have in my studio, I don't know where they are right now, but I know I have quite a few pen and wash drawings that my mother gave me from when she was studying artwork and painting in college. And she had a lot of really beautiful pen and wash. They were like prints. So they were print copies of like finished paintings that were, I think that she studied when she was in school in Parsons in New York City. So I have them somewhere. Maybe eventually I'll find them and we'll kind of reference back to those. But this here is fine. Well, let's take a quick break and we'll come back and get some wash on here, and that'll be about it. We'll have a fun time doing the washes and we'll figure out what colors we're going to use next. All right, let's get started with our mixing of our paints. And usually you'll always notice that on my channel, when I'm creating paintings, watercolor paintings, I'm always trying to get myself set up for success with my painting by mixing my colors first in my palette, starting out with figuring out what colors I'm going to use, using let's say the color scheme of what we're going to put down, the colors. Essentially, when I work with watercolors, most times I'm trying to look at my reference photo or whatever I'm working from. I'm trying to match the colors that I'm seeing. So I'm not getting like too creative and saying, oh, I'm going to change all around the colors. And I try to paint what I see. That's basically my kind of how I was like learned watercolor, is I'm trying to replicate and paint what I'm seeing and just taking those colors that I'm seeing in front of me and then put them down onto the paper. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to take this, but now in this case, we just have a pen drawing. So now I have to come up with something creative and say, well, how do I want to create this painting, since I'm just working from a black and white copy of a pen drawing. So this is where I would just say, I'm just going to use like some basic colors that I think I've used a lot of times in a lot of paintings that are just like this one. So I'm just going to do that. So I'm going to actually, when I think about it right now, I can almost keep all the same colors that I have in my palette that we used for the first painting. I can use those same colors because I think those are the same colors I'm going to really need here. So I'm going to have some of the blue, which is like that cerulean blue. So we'll keep that. Then we'll have a little bit of a darker tonal value blue, which would be like a cobalt blue or a French ultramarine. I would like a little bit of purple in my painting, so I'm going to have some purple there too. And I can create some really nice gray colors with purple or blue mixed with yellow. And then we'll put the yellow up here, gold, and a little bit of orange. So now, again, I'm just doing the same thing, and some burnt umber, which I call burnt umber. This is basically a brown, a medium brown. And then we'll use some green, some light green over here. We'll keep the green light, so we'll use that lighter kind of green toward the yellow side versus the blue. And I think we have all the colors we're really going to need for this. So let's start out. The first thing I'm going to do is maybe start painting in some of the the background here, the color of maybe the light in the window. So maybe I'll go with some light blue there in that window, and maybe there's some green outside. There might be a feeling of some green wash in there, and some gold too. So already I'm kind of mixing around my colors. I'm trying to just imagine outdoors there might be some greens. But it's light, it's a window, so I don't want to go dark. I want to stay light with the colors that I'm using. There. And then the next thing we'll do is maybe I will mix some blue and purple and yellow. And I'll make this the backdrop, the backsplash here. And that brown will just kind of gray it up a little bit. Kind of tone it down. It's the backdrop. If you paint over something, I want to keep the table light. So I want to make sure I keep that table, the surface of this table right here, I want to keep that light. So I want to keep that white paper, basically. And then maybe some purple and blue here, just a little bit of a darker shadow underneath there, like so. I'll paint around those flowers. You can go even a little bit of darker darks there to get a bit of a darker shadow there, and then some more yellows and browns. So this is just fun, mixing in some colors. I think what's good is to mix, so definitely a mixture of colors versus just going with one color. Like if I just went with blue or purple on this backsplash here behind the vase, that would look kind of like too stagnant and boring. So that's why I'm adding all the different colors that we're using here. So we're using the browns, the golds, the blues, the purple, the green, and then it'll look more interesting as we go. Now, I'm thinking, I think I'll start working in some of the flowers. Let's do a little bit of some orange here and yellow. So I'll mix a little bit of a more richer, exciting orange and red for some of the centers of the flowers, like this. Like this. And then maybe even a little bit of red there, or some like really red and orange, darker orange, just to kind of give it a little more exciting color, like that. And then let's see here what we can do with green and red. So like a green, reddish orange, like a red and a green, maybe a little bit of blue. Gives us a little bit of a kind of a grayish color, so we'll get that in for the windowsill. Even a little bit of brown and orange. Maybe that's like a wood color, like that. And maybe we'll make this too, some like that wood color, brown and a little bit orange. Like that. Then we might make some shadows on some of these white. We'll make these white, pretty much the flowers here. So we might make that some light blue for some shadowing. We might take some green here. We'll make some greens. A couple of greens over here too as well. So we're going to have greens mixed in there. Maybe some reds. Red orange. Maybe we'll make a couple of these red orange flowers. Like this. And then we'll take our brush, rinse off our brush, dry off the water on a tissue to give ourselves a damp brush. And then we'll just kind of gently make a little bit of a value change there. Maybe some more green here. There's and then maybe there's another orange flower over here. That one's in shadow, so we're not too concerned with the perfect shape of it. And then here, let's go with some blue and purple. We'll get some shadows on this vase over here. So I'll just basically go maybe halfway across the vase. Then I'll put some yellow mixed with the blue. A little bit of orange. And I'll just mix that around to give us like a nice mixture of colors. Okay, and then maybe we'll make this kind of a nice, like orangey, rusty color. Maybe a little bit of blue mixed in there for the outer edge where it's the shadow edge. Then I use a damp brush, which is I rinse off the brush, dry off the water on a tissue, and then I can take the wash and soften it out a little bit and make it sort of so it kind of feels like it's wrapping around, like making a circular form. So the shadowing, create the shadow side here, and then leave the other side light, and then we'll put some blue in that rust color for the shadow over there. And then over here, maybe we'll make that some blue and purple maybe. I'll just do that. Rinse off the brush, dry off the water off the brush so that I have a damp brush. And then I just soften that out, this edge here. Like that. Then I can go in and get a little more dark and maybe just do a couple bits of light there. And blot up a little bit, then maybe I add some yellow to that. And then maybe some of that rust color too. Just so we have a variety of colors, not just one. And then maybe we'll do the same thing over here under the top. Put a bit of a shadow there. And then I use for the shadow, again, the rust color and then the blue and purple. Okay, and then I think I'll make this pencil yellow. Like that. So we'll do an office pencil, school pencil. Like that. And then maybe a little bit of a purple and blue shadow underneath. Probably better to wait on that. Let's take a quick break. This is where sometimes it's really a benefit to take a quick break. We'll let that yellow pencil dry a little bit, and then we can put a shadow underneath it. If we were to put that shadow underneath it now with blue and purple underneath that pencil that we just painted in that yellow, the yellow paint is still very wet, so that might kind of blend too much together and wind up, we'll lose the effect of a really good shadow under there. So it's better off that we just do a little shadow under there once that pencil dries. So that's not a big deal. We can do that once this dries a bit. You could always use a blow dryer if you want to go a little bit faster and to speed up the drying process. But in any case, I think we have everything looking pretty good. I'll maybe do a couple splashes here, just a few. A couple of sparkles as I kind of think of them as just like little bits of interesting sparkles or bits of interest that we have here. You can always take your splashes and add a little bit of damp brush or water to them to kind of soften them up a little bit if you feel like you've maybe created too many of them. But I think that looks good. A couple of them here and there looks fine. You can always blot them up a little bit too. Make them a little less noticeable in a few areas here and there, but that adds a little bit of variety to the painting. And that, to me, is looking good. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll put the shadow by the bottom of the pencil, and I think that'll be complete. We'll have a good likeness of this painting with some flowers in a vase and a couple containers and a pencil, and we have a window and some light coming through the window and kind of making a really nice light effect across the picture like this. And all right, let's finish up. We'll just let this dry for a few minutes or so. I'll use the blow dryer and we'll come right back. Okay, let's finish up here. We have we said we wanted to just have a little bit of a blue shadow underneath our pencil here, so I take the very sometimes I'll roll my brush. You might see me do this sometimes when I'm painting. If I'm doing a very fine detail where I need a really good point, I'll just take my brush and kind of just roll it like this in the paint, and then we can go underneath, and you can see how I got a really good fine point now since I rolled the brush back and forth, and then we can just go underneath this like that and just make a little bit of a shadow under that pencil. I think it looks good if we can just get a little bit of that shadow there. We are looking good. And I'll put a little bit there too, and a little bit here like that. And I'll maybe try to soften this shadow a little bit too. Like that. Okay. Maybe I'll do one more thing. Maybe we'll add a shadow over here, where this sash is in the window. We could add just a little bit of shadow to that. Like that. And I'll soften this here too a little bit. And I'll soften this edge over here too a little bit. And maybe a little bit of green here. All right, I hope you've had fun. We've had a lot of fun together. This is an exciting video because we've done the pen and wash technique, which I haven't done a tremendous amount on my channel. I've done a lot of ink and washes. You can always type in Chris Petrie ink and wash if you want to see some of the ink and washes I've done. And I kind of showed in the beginning where when I've done a lot of ink and washes where we use a bamboo pen like this and we use a small inkwell and we pour in some black ink, permanent black ink, and we use that to do our drawings similar to this. And then we go over and do the same thing. So basically ink and wash is very similar to pen and wash. The only difference is you're using a pen like our Sharpie, as well as we used our pens that we had from Kate. Thank you again, Kate. She gave us our Speedball pens, which are markers. And then we have the Sharpie marker too as well, which is permanent. So you have a variety of different effects you can get with different types of pens that you use. And then you can also use, we'll do in the, very, very soon on one of my next videos, I'll do another ink and wash. But you can look up Chris Petrie ink and wash if you just type in my name, Chris Petrie, and then you type in 2 words, ink and wash. You'll see that I've done, many, maybe 10 to 20 or maybe more ink and wash paintings. And again, it works similar to this. So you will have it's got a familiar method to it. The ink and wash it's compared to the pen and wash. So just a kind of a little tidbit of information there. I'm hoping again you've had fun here with us together. We're all in this together, having fun, enjoying the watercolor medium, and there's lots of varieties of things you can do. So if sometimes you get bored just doing your standard routine with watercolor, I know sometimes we all get a little bit, sometimes we get a little bored of the same techniques and methods over and over again. Although it's great to do that, sometimes we do need a little bit of a break or a change, and this is a perfect way to do a little bit of a change in your routine with your watercolors. You're just changing a little bit with your, instead of just leaving it pencil drawing, then we're going over the top with our pens, either our Sharpie markers, our Speedball markers that are similar to this, or a myriad of other markers you can find on Amazon or on any art website that you have on the internet, or if you go to your local art supply stores, you'll notice that they all have these usually voluminous amounts of pens and selections of pens and things like that, and markers. So you'll never be at a loss for really good art supplies when you go out to your stores or you go online and look for things. But again, pen and wash is a great way to have a lot of fun, changes up the routine just a little bit, and again, it's practicing drawing a lot too, which is what we all want to do as artists. We always want to try to practice a lot of drawing. Drawing is one of the fundamental skills we have to have as artists working in watercolor. Although some artists don't draw, and that's fine too. But here, if you follow me on my channel, you tend to be someone that likes to draw, and that's part of your routine. So we'll stick to that idea of let's practice our drawing a lot. And this does give you a lot of practice with your drawing. You're doing a pencil drawing first and then duplicating that again a second time with your pen over the top. And that's twice you're getting twice as much practice and time in on your drawing skills. So let's keep enjoying the watercolor medium, pen and wash. We'll do more of these up and coming, and look for those. And again, I'm hoping you'll give me a thumbs up if you like this video. That helps a lot too for other people that are looking for videos. If you thumbs up my video, it'll kind of go out into the YouTube world, and more people will see the video and maybe get interested and join along too and have a lot of fun with this. Okay? All right, so in any case, happy painting, everybody. We'll see you on the next video.